Our second speaker this evening is Senator Rick Santorum from the great state of Pennsylvania. Please give him a welcome.
Thank you very much, Tim. I'm honored to be here again in New Hampshire. It's I think my 15th trip to New Hampshire in the past year. I just came from my hometown of Pittsburgh, where I spoke at the NRA convention, and I wanted to welcome the folks to Pittsburgh, and I wanted to speak to the NRA because throughout my time in the Congress, one of the things that the NRA has always focused on. In fact, I'm a member of the NRA, and I get their magazine. The magazine is called Freedom. Freedom. You think about it. You think about what is at the core, as Ovid talked about earlier, what's at the core of what motivates me. Because the questions are asked, well, what would your plans be? Well, the plan has to be, well, what is the core value that makes America different than every other country in the history of the world? What made our economy more successful? What made our society more successful? And it comes down to the document that is the why for America. The Constitution is the how. How does America operate? But the why of America lies in the Declaration of Independence, those words that Ovid talked about earlier, that is on the lips of every American, or at least used to be, before our education system got to our children. And that is that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Our founders understood. Our founders understood. That's the why. And what is that why? Is it an economic understanding of the world? No. No. It's a moral understanding. America is a moral enterprise that says that all of us are created equal. Why? Because is Jack equal to Betty? No. Are they the same? No. Are they equal in any objective way? Probably not. So what? Well, she's cuter. Yes, that's true. But why is she equal? Because she is equal in the eyes of God to Jack and everybody else. See, our founders understood that America, if it was going to be a prosperous and great nation, had to have a why that held us together. And the why was that we are equal and that we have rights from God given to us, and that the government's role very clearly was to be limited for the one thing. One of my favorite movies is City Slickers. The one thing of America. The whole purpose of America is to keep you free so you can provide for yourself, your family, the people you love, and the God you serve. That is the why of America. You want to know what holds us together? Why my grandfather came to this country, even though he lived in a beautiful area, had a secure job, but he had Benito Mussolini, who were telling him that his children had to get up in the morning and dress in brown shirts and march every day. And he said, no, I'll give up that security that the government will provide for me. And I'll come and I'll work till he's 72 years old in the coal mines of western Pennsylvania. He sacrificed, just like every generation of Americans, stories like Ovid's and Tim's and so many others, that made sacrifices for the one thing. Ladies and gentlemen, that one thing is why people are so animated across America, because that one thing is at stake in this election. The President of the United States, 2 weeks ago, said something that every person in this room should know and repeat over and over again. It's chilling. It's descriptive of what the problem is that's confronting America through this administration. He said in his budget retort to Paul Ryan, he talked about the wonders of Medicare, Medicaid, and unemployment insurance. And he said this: America is a better country because of those policies. Fine. Okay, fine. But then he said this: I'll go one step further. America was not a great country until those programs. Can you imagine the president of this country saying America was not a great country prior to 1965? America was founded great. It wasn't great because some politicians did it. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to revive this economy. We want to revive this nation. You want to know what motivates me? It's what Jim DeMint's book was about. Freedom. It's about freedom and trust in the American people. Trusting that each and every one of you, by serving your God and providing for yourselves and your families, and yes, being your brother's keeper in your community, collectively, we can do much better than a group of people in Washington, D.C. designing things for us. What we see, this huge budget deficit, this huge burden that we have laid on the economy of this country, is as a result of people in Washington thinking they know better and that they trust themselves more than they trust you. Obamacare is simply about a man who believes that he is caring for you if he designs a healthcare system that provides not for people on the margins of society, but for every man and woman in America. That's caring in his mind. That is not caring. That is trying to manipulate every man and woman to do what you want them to do, and that is not America.
Right on.
To get this economy going again, I would first and foremost repeal Obamacare. I would cut taxes on people who create jobs in America, incentivize corporations to keep their employment here in this country by cutting corporate taxes. Those are the kinds of things we have to do. Again, trusting the American people to do what is right. We also need an energy policy. Look at what is going on in our country today with these huge gas prices. And here's what the President of the United States said. He mocked Sarah Palin and John McCain and others from the last election who were talking about drill, baby, drill. He said, that's not the answer. No, the answer is we need to conserve. We need to use less. We need all these new technologies to conserve and use less liquid fuels. Does the president really think you are that stupid? Think about what he said. The answer is not supply, it's just demand. Any basic economics class says there's two ways in which you can affect price. Supply and demand. And under the president's world, there's only one. He does believe you're that stupid.
Yes, he does.
Well, let me tell you what's going on right now in America. When I left the United States Senate, we were fighting over building LNG terminals on the east coast of the country. Why? Because we didn't have enough natural gas. Well, during that time, we found something in Pennsylvania and in New York called Marcellus Shale, the largest natural gas find in the history of the country. And guess what we're doing with those LNG terminals? We're exporting natural gas. Why? Drill, baby, drill. You want to lower costs? The reason, I'm almost done. The reason, I'll be very quick with my answers this way. The reason that we're seeing gasoline prices high is because, not because there's a shortage of gasoline, it's because there's uncertainty as where that gasoline's coming from. We need to make sure that gasoline's coming from here, and those prices will come down.
Well, Senator, the administration has been pursuing a regulatory assault on Americans, families, businesses that they really can't get through Congress. They're using the Environmental Protection Agency, the National Labor Relations Board, other agencies to pursue their agenda. As president, what would you do about this assault from a regulatory perspective and rolling it back? And specifically, would you call for legislation that says Congress has to approve regulations that cost beyond a certain dollar amount?
We have all sorts of regulatory review procedures already in the Congress. But look, the heart of the problem of regulations is passing laws, and Jim talks about this, is passing laws that are these huge expansive bills that provide enormous flexibility for regulators to do incredible amounts of mischief. So the problem is the Congress. It's not the the president is using the authority that the Congress is giving to him. You look at the Obamacare bill, and I think there's 700 times the words "the secretary shall" appears in that bill. You're giving power away from the people who were elected to actually make decisions about how government should operate, and you're yielding them to the executive branch and worse yet, to the bureaucracies within that branch. And so the best answer to this is not to mess around with the regulatory system, but let's get back to simpler bills. No big 3, 4, 5, 6,000 page bills, but talk about getting simple bills that actually force Congress to make decisions. When the NLRB, what's an unfair labor practice? Well, read that law. You have no idea what an unfair labor practice is. So let's get Congress back to the job of actually articulating what the law should be and not yielding that authority over to the executive branch.
Senator Tom Coburn has called earmarks a gateway drug to bigger spending.
Yeah, I've got some lines.
And they've helped explode spending. Even when Republicans were in charge, they dramatically increased. I know you supported earmarks when you were in the Senate.
That's why I talked about my lines in my own.
Has your view of these earmarks changed, and where would you go policy-wise if you were president?
Well, Jim DeMint, now he doesn't have nearly the tracks in his arm that I did. I will say that. But look, when I was in Congress, I had a very clear. I came into the United States Senate with Bill Clinton in charge of the presidency, and on a variety of issues, I did not like the way the president was spending money. So I aggressively earmarked money so we would spend money in areas that otherwise the president would not spend. And I think you make a legitimate argument that got out of control, and it led to larger and larger increases of spending. And thanks to, again, the good counsel of my friend Jim DeMint, I think we owe the American public cold turkey on this. We owe them that this is not something we were going to do. But I think it's very important to also say that we need to have, if we're going to do that, then we need to have a lot more aggressive oversight of what the administration is spending the money on. Because when you get rid of earmarks, you give that authority over to the executive to do. And so I think congressional oversight is vitally important if we're going to do that. But I have said that earmarks are a bad thing. But again, it's a very easy thing for someone who's thinking about running for president to say that you swear off earmarks, because earmarks are Congress and not the president. So if you swear off earmarks, that means actually the president gets to spend more money. So yeah, the answer is yes. And I think Jim and the folks who have been advocating for this rightly point out that it is a corrupting influence in the appropriations process. It has led to more spending, and it's something we should get rid of.
Senator Rick Santorum.
Thank you very much.